in America, a bunch of people saying that they are protesting, in reality, they are rioting, why they believe that they are doing a rebellion. You know, in the last couple of weeks, I got a quite nice success on YouTube. You know, a bunch of new subscribers. If you're subscribers to this channel, thank you. It's really great. But I noticed from the analytic tools that most of the people who are subscribed to the channel are actually from America, from the United States, which is awesome, to be honest. I'm really glad that you guys are here. I just simply never thought that the American audience would be more interested about my takes than the European ones. I'm from Eastern Europe. And yeah, however, it gives me a really unique opportunity that I can ask you guys about, our cultural differences, because there are lots of things that I just cannot really comprehend, I cannot really understand what is going on there in America. You know what, let's just do this. I give you my take, I give you my perspective on this topic, and maybe you guys can enlighten me that what's the difference, what is going on in America. Because right now, there are these riots happening in the United States. People are burning down cars, throwing concrete and such. First and foremost, what is most insane for me, that here in Europe, we have many protests. And there are lots of different kinds of protests. We actually do differentiate between protesting, rioting, rebellion, and things like that. Because we actually have examples for all of that. So, as a European, when a news reporter is standing in front of a burning car and he's literally saying that this is a mostly peaceful protest. No, it's not. I mean, first and foremost, if cars are burning, that's not a protest, that's a riot immediately. You see, in Europe at least, protesting is an organized event. You are demonstrating power, usually. But demonstrating power does not happen by destroying a city. Demonstrating power happens by showing that you are organized. And there are many of you. Quite powerful protests happened, for example, in Serbia not long ago, when hundreds of thousands of people gathered to protest against the government. Now, you do know that it is a protest because there was no destruction of property happening, and the government actually tried to smear these protests in a way that they are paid people to try to destroy property, to paint the protesters in the media that they are just rioters. Now, you know what the protesters did in this situation? They themselves captured anyone who is doing vandalism and handed them over to the police. They are literally protected the stores, the windows, the cars. If anybody messed with anything, they themselves were the one who captured them and handed them over to the police. Or, if the police were close, the crowd opened up to allow the police to come in and take the bad apples out. This is how you do know that it was a protest. Because what's the difference between protesting and what's the difference between rioting? The main difference between the two things is that during a protest, people are actively fighting against the bad apples in the group. Now in a riot, people are actively protecting the bad apples. So yes, a lot of people are not participating in the destruction, however they are actively protecting the destruction happening. You see, I actually saw in American protests like this, that people were handed over leaflets, little guidebooks, which told them techniques how to, quote-unquote, unarrest people. If somebody did destroy a car or something like that and captured by the police, how to unarrest them, how to push away the police officers and just grab the guy they're trying to arrest, and if 4 or 5 of you are dragging away that person, the police cannot catch you and you can just save a criminal from justice in a way that the police are not going to shoot you. So, how it's supposed to work in a normal civilized society is that if there is a big gathering, there is a big protest happening somewhere, then the police actually walking amongst the crowd. They can just go around in the crowd, and when they find a bad apple, when they find an aggressor, then they take that aggressor out of the crowd and they are arrested outside the crowd. This is actually the benefit for all. Because, if somebody starts to throw concrete, doesn't matter if he aimed at the police, that concrete might hit you in the face. If somebody starts to shoot fireworks in a big crowd, You know, who can tell that that firework is actually going to shoot the target and not shoot you in the face? Yeah, if somebody's trying to do aggressive things, somebody's trying to do dangerous, even life-threatening attacks against anyone, in a big crowd, that attack can kill anyone, not just the police and not just the property. So yeah, it's for everyone's benefit that these bad apples, that these aggressors are actually taken out from the crowd. But, you know, and that is why in a protest, the protesters themselves are supporting this work to happen. But in a riot, the protesters themselves are supporting the rioters. They are protecting them from the police. So you might say that they actively not engaging with aggression. They actively not destroying property and things like that. But that's not true. They are actively protecting rioters. And that is why they are rioters themselves. But simply, you know, that's the main difference between a riot and between a protest. And, you know, don't get me wrong. Riots happened everywhere. Not long ago, it happened in France as well. That was a big riot, you know, people were burning cars and such, and things like that. So it happens time to time. But to be fair, in France, that's a long tradition, you know. It's part of their history, and many people are just holding the torch like this to the good old times. So yeah, time to time, they are just doing a riot. But at least nowadays, they don't roll heads anymore. But, you know, it's a French thing. However, nobody ever did in Europe what I can see in America all the time. That there is an obvious riot happening, there is obvious aggression, there is obvious destruction on a great scale, and journalists are literally standing in front of a fire and saying that it's a mostly peaceful protest. You're literally standing in front of a fire. You see, for example, in the Serbian protest, since Serbia is, well, it's not a dictatorship, but yeah, it's compared to the US, it's a semi-dictatorship. So there is an extremely corrupt and extremely influential government governing the country. So there is a state-owned media, and the state-owned media is underreporting or unreporting or misreporting on the protests because, you know, they are trying to protect the government interests and not report on the truth. But that is a government-owned media. You can expect that this is going to happen because, yeah, this is the idea behind them. And even then, when the government-owned media trying to underreport on the protests, for example, there was examples that they actually try to show that this protest is not even big, just a handful of people. They stood their cameras a couple of miles away from the protest happening, where only just a couple of people were on the way to the protests, and they just filmed those people that, you see, this is the entire protest. You know, and they try to just report on the entire thing as it's just a couple of people just making a mess. But at least they did the effort to, you know, make a shot where they can seem like that what they are saying is true. Now in America, you guys don't do that. You guys just literally stand in front of a burning building and report that it's a mostly peaceful protest. Yeah, it's just wild for me that a government-owned media which willfully and knowingly misreporting on a public demonstration is actually doing more effort to seem like they are reporting the truth, like as legitimate journalists in America. This is just wild for me. Media outlets could report on the truth, and they supposed to do that, but they just refuse to do so. You know, it's just baffling for me. And that is why a lot of people in America don't even understand, don't even know the difference between a protest and between a riot. Now, I just told you that between a protest and between a riot the difference is that the protesters are organized, the protesters are peaceful, the protesters are just demonstrating that they are standing together in a cause. Now, rioters are just destroying things. And then the justification for that it's freedom of speech, the concrete blocks of freedom. Yeah, you cannot stop that, right? I mean, these kind of cynical takes that, yeah, we can destroy property because the insurance is going to cover it. And dude, you know it, I know it, everybody knows it. Insurance doesn't work like that. Okay, we all had problems with insurance companies before because they are profit-oriented companies, right? Their aim is to not pay you, right? So when there is a riot happening like this, which is going to cause a lot of property damage, they are just going to find some form of excuse that, oh, you did know that a riot is happening, so you did not cover your windows with bulletproof glass or some bullshit like that, and that's why we are only covering half of the expenses, or none of that. This is just this cynical take that they pretend that, oh yeah, just me destroying property, me endangering public safety. No, that's not the problem. That's not the problem at all because whatever. And they say some obvious bullshit like insurance companies are going to cover it, which they themselves do know for a matter of fact that it's not true. You have an insurance, right? You ever try to file a claim? And what about people who don't have insurance? They just bought a Tesla a couple of years ago and they did not thought that it's need to be protected by insurance because people might scratch swastikas on the side of it. Yeah, it just did not occur to them that this is a possibility to happen. Yeah, it's on them that they did not cover themselves with insurance with that. Yeah, that's their problem. And it's even worse than that because there's another layer of this, that other level of this is a rebellion, right? Now, what is a rebellion? For something to be a rebellion, you have to have, again, one thing. You have to be willing to die for your cause. That's when we talk about a rebellion. You have to be willing to die for your cause. No, willing to kill is nothing. People are willing to kill for a damn shoe, for a sneaker. That's not a threshold to jump. So being willing to kill for a cause is nothing. That's just a fort. Being willing to die for a cause. Now that's when we start to talk about rebellion. So right now when I saw in the TV that there was people on the highway and there was under them a police car and they were throwing concrete, slabs of concrete to the police car. And the police officers were hiding under a bridge to not get killed. Literally, that's what happened. Because we all do know what would have happened to that police officer if he would just stand next to his car. Rioters would throw concrete slabs at him until he's dead. That's literally, they would literally stone him to death. I know that, you know that, we all know that. That is why they are hiding. So, yeah, that is why we had stonings for thousands of years. Because people actually like to do that. If there are no laws, they just enjoy the moment that there are no laws, that they can do whatever and they can get away with it. However, in a rebellion, they're not trying to get away with it. They're not trying to, just mess around and then go home and live their life. No, they are there to change things. And if those things are not changing, they are going to still try until either the thing changes what they're trying to change or they die. So either way, in a rebellion, the thing is going to sort itself out. Either they are going to change the government, the thing, whatever, or they're all going to die and therefore everything remains in the same place. This is how every rebellion in history sorted itself out. Some of them won and they overthrew the government. Some of them lost and they were executed. So yes, in Europe we actually have memories of those happening. We are talking about rebellion, and when these people are trying to pose as rebels who are now going to change things and they are going to overthrow the government, because yeah, we all believe that these true rebels, they are heroes, that they are actually martyrs. But these people are not martyrs. These people are not willing to even be arrested for shoplifting while they are in these riots, right? And you want to tell me that the guy who just trying to unarrest a person for being arrested for arson or something like that, that guy is willing to die for this cause. Who's trying to escape a charge. Yeah. So, in summary, what is going on in America right now, at least from a European perspective, in America, a bunch of people saying that they are protesting, in reality, they are rioting, while they believe that they are doing a rebellion. And again, I'm not American. I don't live there. I don't know what is the political climate, what is the everyday life. I don't know if under the Trump administration is really that bad as people on Reddit says so. I don't know. I just do know that a lot of people are upset, and therefore they started these riots. And somewhat I can do understand all of this. What I cannot understand is this pretentious, thing that posing as protests and posing as rebels and such. At least in Europe, we are honest. The French people who burn down cars on the street will not stand in front of the camera and then say that, yes, destruction of property is a valid form of protest. No, nobody says that. We all know that it's not. We destroyed that property because we wanted to. People in Serbia will not just stand in front of the police crowd to stop them to arrest the people who are breaking down windows, right? We are not going to pretend that is okay. And if there is a rebellion, if there is a riot happening where people are destroying shit, we all understand that that's a riot. And we are proud of it. Yes, this is a riot. Yes, we are fed up, and therefore we are burning the whole city down. But at least we are honest. In Europe, nobody is standing in front of a burning car while stating that this is a mostly peaceful protest. It never happened. It's only in America. So, this is the thing which, as a European, I just cannot understand. When you are doing a riot, just own it. You are doing a riot. You are now going to steal every shop, you are going to break every window, you are trying to loot as much things as possible, and burn down cars, and then hurt and even kill police officers. Because that's what you want to do. No, you cannot say that, because that wouldn't really look right, isn't it? No, this is just freedom of speech, you know. These are the concrete blocks of peace, and these are the fireworks of freedom which we just aimed to the police wall right there. Yeah, right. You know? This is how human nature works. So, yeah, if you allow destruction, if you allow aggression to happen, it will happen. Because by themselves, humans, people, are not civilized. Civilization enforces civilized behavior. Our government, our police, the army, these institutions enforces civilized behavior. If they are not working, if they are completely demolished, there is no civilization. This is what all zombie apocalypse games and movies are all about. And nobody is saying that, oh yeah, this is unrealistic, because if there would be a zombie apocalypse, everybody would just join arms, help each other, and just defeat the zombie hordes, and we would all live in a utopia, right? No, nobody believes that. Because we all know that humans are not like that. That this civilized society, what we have right now, is enforced by police and army and such. Enforced by force.